Wanted to record a quick video to show off this somewhat unique process that I pretty much use as like a general standard whenever I am merging code into a bunch of different places. This is I guess you might call it like a trunk-based flow. So in this project, we have a main that we're merging everything into. And then as we cut features, we'll put them on their own branch. We'll have a whole bunch of commits, and then we'll merge them in. And then this is great for having clean isolated flows. And then we use squash commits so that whenever we're on main, it's a nice clean history and there's not like a whole bunch of tiny little commits. And it's nice also because when you look at main, even though all those commits are like small, or not small, but even though the commits are like just a single commit, you still have the reference to the pull request here so that you can look through all of those individual commits and revert or find something specific if needed. So it's nice because it keeps everything linked up, but it also keeps really high level, like what features were added, what branches, what like scopes of work were merged in kind of thing. The downside is that when something is in review for a while, you get this where if I look at this homepage, I can see that some of the first ones here are this commit 45FC302, the cleanup logo carousel. And then if I come back to my current branch, which is still in progress, I have that same 45FC302. But again, because we did a squash commit, that hash or that ID does not exist in main. And when I'm comparing against main, all of these extra commits that belong to that first branch are still here, right? And then it starts looking like there's conflicts and stuff. And what do we do, right? What do we do in order to solve this problem? It's actually pretty simple if you keep your commit history clean and keep rebasing up against this one, or in general, just don't have a whole bunch of merges back and forth. But generally what I do is I'll usually do this in my Git editor, but I'll just keep going here for a second in GitHub. And I'll find out what is my like first commit onto this branch. And sometimes it's a little hard to see in GitHub. Yeah, let's go look at my code editor and see if we can see this. And most code editors will have something like this, but this is lazy Git. This is what lazy Git looks like for me in Vim. Let's see, we can look at a couple things here. First, we can look at the commit that's merged away. So we can see the last commit is this 02304C4. If my Web 287 careers branch is up to date, then it will be pretty straightforward. But at the moment, I'm thinking because this only shows this one branch that I've made some more commits to this branch since I branched off. And so what we can do is we can switch over to the careers branch, and then I'm just going to look at the ref log here. Cool. So I found it. Note to self, maybe make a commit whenever you make a branch to identify that, okay, starting new branch kind of thing, just to make this easier for yourself. But I have found the commit. This is feat careers page rendering in configured insanity. So this is the first bit of work I did just a couple days ago. Actually yesterday on this branch. And so I'm going to go to the commit before it. And so this is going to be essentially the base of the branch that I want. And so I'm just going to copy that hash. For me, that's fairly straightforward. And then I'm going to run a custom command just from the command line git command. This is something that you can do from any command line, and any editor should let you do this. Some of them may have ways to help you with this, but this is something that I've not found super common. And so you can see I obviously run it a lot. So I'm going to git rebase onto, and then I'm going to do main. But before I do that, and this is really important about doing things like this, is you can see my main is not up to date. It does not have that merge. Now we have it. Great. Okay, so main's up to date. Careers is up to date. Always make sure everything's up to date before you do this. Now that I'm on careers, I'm going to run git rebase onto main, and then I am going to paste that hash. And then I like to just add interactive just so that I get this so I can see, okay, I've only done 4 commits here, and this is showing me exactly what I want, that it's picking just those 4 commits that I've done so far to this branch, and that it's going to be dropping everything else. And that's great. So I am going to, whatever you do to save and quit your editor and return. And there were no conflicts anymore, right? Very simple. You can see I have 64 extra commits locally now. And so it's always a good practice just to make sure that anything that you expect to work works at this point in time. I'm going to see that something like generate type still works. Just your tasks inside your repo that you would do if you've got whatever you've got set up so far. So you're going to want to run through all of those tests ahead of time if you've got actual tests to run, whatever it is. Just make sure your project is still working in the state that you expected it to be working in, and then you can push. I'm going to abort that. So you can push up, and you'll see if you have an interactive thing like this, it's going to prompt you to force push probably, or you can do git push-force in order to do this. And so I am going to push. And what we can now see is if we come back to our GitHub, let me see all these extra commits that are in here. And if we refresh, we'll have a nice breath of fresh air. See that there's 23 files changed now and just 4 commits. And so, yeah, these are all going to have different commit hashes and everything than you had before, but it's going to be a nice clean history for you to compare, no conflicts and no confusion as to what is actually part of the scope of work and what's not.